I thought putting up a simple no parking sign would solve the problem. Just a friendly reminder, hey, this is private property, please don't park here. I didn't expect it to start a full-on war with the neighborhood HOA, or that their smug president would threaten to ruin my business over a few parking spots. But let me back up a second. This all started on a Monday morning. I pulled into the parking lot at my company, Hexabyte Solutions, a small but growing software firm I've been running for 6 years. And boom, some shiny silver BMW is sitting in my reserved spot, the one with a big director label painted in bold white letters. At first, I thought maybe a client had arrived early, but then I noticed two more unfamiliar cars, all parked in our tiny lot. And they weren't just unfamiliar. They had HOA parking tags on the dash. My stomach dropped. Now, just so we're clear, this isn't a shared space. We lease the entire office suite, and the parking lot is part of that lease. It's ours, period. I circled the lot twice like an idiot, hoping maybe one of them would pull out. No luck. I ended up parking on the street, feeding a meter that cost me nearly $15 for the day. Not exactly how I wanted to kick off the week. When I got inside, my assistant Stephanie looked just as annoyed. Jason and Kelly are still circling, she said. There's literally nowhere to park. I stared out the window at those smug little cars and muttered, what the hell is going on? There was a property management sign posted on the fence, so I gave the number a call. A guy named Rick answered. Sounded bored out of his mind, like he'd just woken up. Oh yeah, he said when I described the situation. That's Highland Ridge. Their visitor lot is getting resurfaced this week, so the HOA told residents they could park over there. Shouldn't be long. I blinked. Wait, over where? Your lot? No one had asked. No email, no call, no heads up, just took it, like it was theirs. I told Rick flat out, I am the business owner. There's no arrangement. This is private property. He kind of fumbled through some nonsense about checking the notes and said he'd look into it. That was it. So I printed out a few polite notices. Private property. Employees only. Please find alternate parking. Thank you for understanding. I walked out and placed one on every windshield. Thought maybe that'd be the end of it. But the next morning, things got worse. Anyway, stick around, because you are not going to believe what this HOA tried to pull next. The next morning, I showed up a little early, coffee in hand, feeling hopeful. Maybe they got the message. Maybe the signs worked. Nope. There were 7 cars in the lot this time, all of them with Highland Ridge HOA tags on the dash. And the kicker? My polite little notes from the day before? Crumpled up and tossed on the ground like trash. One had a handwritten message scrawled across it. The HOA said this is fine. I stood there for a solid minute, just staring. My coffee went cold in my hand. Stephanie called me from inside. Don't even come up, she said. It's worse today. Kelly had to park 3 blocks away. Jason gave up and went home to work remotely. That's when I knew this wasn't some mix-up. They knew it was private property. They just didn't care. I drove over to Highland Ridge. It's this fancy gated community with uniform hedges and identical beige townhomes, the kind of place where every mailbox matches and everyone owns a leaf blower. A security guard at the gate stopped me, naturally. I just need to speak to someone from the HOA, I explained, preferably the president. He looked at me like I was asking to see the Queen. You'll need an appointment, but I can give you her number, Linda Carter. I called right away. I'm in meetings all day, Linda said when she picked up. Can this wait? No, it really can't, I replied. Your residents are parking in a lot they have no right to use. I've already had clients cancel appointments. She sighed like I was inconveniencing her. Fine, 10 minutes, 3:30, at the clubhouse? That afternoon, I showed up with everything. Property survey, lease agreement, the works. If she wanted to play the confused little neighbor card, I came ready to shut it down. Linda looked exactly how I imagined. Mid-50s, expensive highlights, blouse that probably cost more than my desk chair, and that tight-lipped HOA smile. She greeted me like we were meeting for brunch. I understand there's some confusion about the parking, she said. There's no confusion, I told her. This is private property. Your residents are parking there without permission, and it's affecting my business. She tilted her head like I'd just offended her dog. You have to understand. We have 80 homes in our community. With the resurfacing, there's nowhere else to park. This is temporary. I raised an eyebrow. Temporary for how long? 3 weeks, according to the contractor. 3 weeks. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was insane. You're asking me to let strangers take over my company's parking for almost a month? Not asking, she said sweetly. Just continuing the arrangement. The previous building owner let us use the lot sometimes. We assumed it was fine. Show me the agreement then. She shuffled some papers dramatically. I don't have it on hand, but I assure you it exists. Of course. After some tense back and forth, I finally, stupidly, agreed to let them use 5 spaces for 1 week only. I even promised to mark them with signs. Honestly, I was just trying to be the bigger person. Play nice, keep the peace. But walking out of that meeting, I had a bad feeling in my gut. The kind that tells you someone just smiled to your face and stabbed you in the back the second you turned around. That night, I emailed Linda and the management company, spelling out our agreement in black and white. 5 spots, 1 week, no exceptions. The response? A chirpy, "Thanks for your cooperation during this challenging time." Like I'd just volunteered to host a bake sale. But the next day, it was a whole new level of disrespect. 15 cars. Every single spot taken. Even the one clearly labeled owner. My phone started buzzing with messages from staff. Nowhere to park. Clients are backing out. What do we do? I'd tried the polite route. I gave them a chance to play fair. Instead, Linda Carter took advantage of my goodwill, ignored our written agreement, and then, when I called her to demand answers, she doubled down. You're overreacting, she told me. It's just parking. No, lady, it's not just parking. It's my business, my employees, and my damn property. And then she said something that made my blood run cold. Well, technically, you can't stop us. Like I said, the previous owner allowed it. We have records. Then produce them. Our secretary can scan it tomorrow. In the meantime, please try to be more neighborly. I hung up without another word. Stephanie walked over and handed me a stack of canceled appointments. That was the moment I made up my mind. No more polite signs. No more understanding. They wanted to push? Fine. I was about to push back harder than they ever expected. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. That's the shift right there. When frustration burns out and turns into pure strategy. That night, after everyone had gone home, I sat in my office with a cup of cheap gas station coffee and one goal: end this nonsense once and for all. I started by digging into the property documents. I already had our lease and the lot map, but I wanted more. I wanted ammo. So I drove down to the county records office before they closed and asked the clerk to help me pull anything related to the property. Easements, usage rights, permits, anything that could hint at this supposed agreement Linda kept waving around like a magic wand. An hour later, we had exactly 0 evidence that Highland Ridge HOA ever had any right to use my parking lot. Not a single document, not even a footnote. That fake little story about the previous owner's arrangement, pure fiction. But I wasn't done. Back at the office, I tracked down the previous owner, Mr. Harris, retired, now living in Arizona. I found his contact info in an old folder and gave him a call. I explained the situation, the HOA's claims, the whole mess. He actually laughed. That woman's still at it, he said. Linda tried the same trick on me years ago. Wanted me to sign an easement so they could use the lot for overflow during community events. I told her absolutely not. You never signed anything? I asked, just to be sure. Not a damn thing, he replied. And if she says otherwise, she's lying. That was all I needed. Armed with that confirmation, I started making calls. 3 different towing companies turned me down. Too risky, they said. Too much HOA drama, not worth the heat. But the 4th one, Skyline Recovery, they didn't even blink. As long as you post legal signage 24 hours in advance, the guy told me, we can tow every unauthorized vehicle off that lot. I asked them to install the signs that night. Big, bold, and legal. Private property, Unauthorized vehicles will be towed at owner's expense. I had them posted at every entrance, every visible corner. Then, I sent one final email to Linda. CC'd the property management company. BCC'd myself for good measure. After verifying with county records and the previous property owner, there is no agreement, written or otherwise, permitting Highland Ridge residents to use our private parking lot. Unauthorized vehicles will be towed starting Wednesday morning. Please notify your residents immediately. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. It was her. You're making a serious mistake, Linda said, all the sugar drained from her voice. It was ice now. Then show me the document, I said. We have legal standing, she snapped. Our residents are going to be furious. They should be furious at you, I replied, for lying to them. And that's when she dropped the threat. I'm on the City Planning Commission, she said quietly. You don't want to make an enemy of me. One call from me and suddenly your next permit disappears. My heart thudded in my chest. I took a breath, then another. And then I said, calm, controlled. Are you threatening me, Linda? Because if I have to report this call to the ethics committee, I will. Dead silence on the line. Then, through clenched teeth, you've declared war on the wrong person. She hung up. I stared at my phone for a few seconds. My hands were shaking a little. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. I was. Linda clearly wasn't afraid to play dirty, and I'm just a small business owner trying to keep my company running, not some power player in city politics. But I also knew this. I had the truth, the law, the paper trail, and the guts to follow through. That night, I didn't sleep much. I kept replaying it all in my head. Her lies, the smug way she dismissed me, the way she tried to scare me into silence. But I also thought about my staff, my clients, and how many people let bullies like her win because they're too tired or too afraid to push back. I wasn't backing down. So I wrote one final internal email to my team. Please plan to arrive early tomorrow. Parking will be tight. Also, bring coffee. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. And oh boy, was it ever. I showed up before dawn. The sky was still dark, the air damp and quiet, like the calm before a storm. I parked across the street from the office, tucked into a space where I had a clear view of our lot. I had Skyline Recovery's number open on my phone, coffee in hand, heart pounding harder than I cared to admit. At exactly 6:30 a.m., their first tow truck rolled up, followed by two more. The drivers, tough-looking guys with steel-toed boots and no-nonsense faces, greeted me with a nod. No small talk, just business. You the property owner, one of them asked, rubbing his hands together in the morning chill. I am, I said. Let's do this. By 7:45, it started. A silver Honda CR-V rolled into the lot and parked like it owned the place. Highland Ridge permit sticker on the windshield. A guy in scrubs stepped out, clearly on his way to work, gave the signage a passing glance, then just walked off like it didn't apply to him. 5 minutes later, a woman in a business suit pulled into the next spot. Then a young mom with a minivan. Then a retiree with a golf hat. By 8:30, 12 unauthorized cars were packed into my lot, every one of them ignoring the new signs posted on every entrance. I sent a quick message to my staff. Park on the street this morning. Trust me. At exactly 9 a.m., the trucks moved. The drivers swooped in like hawks. Chains clanked, tires squealed. One by one, cars were hoisted up and rolled out of the lot. The whole operation was weirdly satisfying, like justice in motion. By 9:45, every last intruder was gone. And in their place, my employees arriving on cue, pulling into open spots like the lot had been reset. For the first time all week, I could actually breathe. Then my phone started blowing up. Calls, voicemails, emails, angry messages from HOA residents demanding explanations, threatening lawsuits, insisting they had a right to park there. And then came the SUV. Linda Carter rolled in like a thunderstorm at 10 a.m., sharp, screeching her Lexus into the empty lot. She flung open the door and stomped toward my building with her designer handbag, swinging like a weapon. Front desk buzzed me. Uh, she's here. Let her in, I said. I've been waiting. She barged into my office, face flushed, lips pursed so tight I thought she might explode. You had no right to do that, she barked. I looked her straight in the eye. I had every right, and you knew it. People missed medical appointments. One of our residents had to cancel a surgery this morning because his car was towed. I'm sorry that happened, I said, but it's not my responsibility. You told your residents they could park on private property without asking permission, and you gambled they wouldn't get caught. There is an agreement, she snapped. Then show me, I said, sliding a folder across the desk. Because I've got the county records, the deed, a property survey, and a written statement from the previous owner confirming no such agreement ever existed. She hesitated. For the first time, she looked rattled. And then I went for the knockout. I also have a recording of you threatening to use your position on the City Planning Commission to interfere with my business permits. Her face went white. You recorded me? I didn't blink. I did. And I'm prepared to submit it to the city's ethics committee if this harassment continues. Now she was shaking. The fight drained out of her all at once. What do you want? She asked, voice lower, thinner. I want you to tell your residents the truth, that you lied about having permission. I want a signed statement from the HOA board acknowledging that no agreement exists and that this parking lot belongs solely to my company. And I want a guarantee that this will never happen again. Linda sat down slowly. Her confidence was gone. I could practically hear the gears in her head turning, calculating what she could still salvage. Finally, she said, "The board meets tonight. I'll bring it up." As she stood to leave, I added one more thing, not even looking up from my screen. And if I see one more Highland Ridge vehicle parked here without permission, I will file an ethics complaint. That's not a threat, it's a promise. She didn't say a word. Just walked out, heels clacking down the hallway like a retreating army. And I just sat there, in absolute silence, letting the moment sink in. For the first time in days, I wasn't tense. I wasn't pacing. I wasn't angry. I was winning. Because the thing is, when someone like Linda has gotten away with bullying people for years, they don't expect pushback. They're not ready for it. But all it takes is one person to stand up and say, "No more," and suddenly the whole power dynamic shifts. And just like that, it had. The board meeting happened that same night. I wasn't there, but I didn't need to be. Because the next morning I woke up to the sound of silence. No angry voicemails, no cars in my lot that didn't belong. Just the steady hum of a normal workday, which felt almost surreal after the chaos of the past week. Then around noon, an email landed in my inbox. It was from Robert Langston, the HOA's vice president. "I'd like to meet with you privately to apologize on behalf of the board. We were unaware of Linda's actions. There are other concerns too." I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop near the edge of the neighborhood. Robert was soft-spoken, older, and clearly uncomfortable. He wasted no time. "She acted without board approval," he said. "Never presented your parking lot issue for a vote. She told us she had an agreement in place, but, well, clearly that wasn't true." I nodded, sipping my drink. "She also threatened to mess with my business permits using her position on the City Planning Commission." His eyes widened. "She what?" I played him the recording. He listened quietly, lips tightening with every word. When it ended, he just sat back in his chair and let out a slow breath. "That's a serious ethics violation," he said. "Would you be willing to share this with the board?" "Absolutely." The following evening, they held an emergency HOA meeting, and this time, I was there. The community center was packed. Around 50 residents, all whispering and glancing between me and Linda, who sat front and center, arms crossed like a petulant teenager. Robert opened the session, then introduced the recording. The room went dead silent as Linda's voice filled the space, calmly threatening to sabotage my business. When it ended, you could have heard a pin drop. She tried to defend herself, tried to twist the narrative, but it was too late. The vote was unanimous. Linda was removed as HOA president. and later that week, she resigned from the Planning Commission before a formal investigation could begin. The Monday after all that, my parking lot was a peaceful little slice of heaven. No surprise cars, no HOA drama. Just my team, coming in on time, smiling, parking where they were supposed to. Even better, I got emails from 3 other local business owners. Turns out, Linda had been pulling similar stunts with them, telling them they couldn't put up signs, trying to regulate their hours, even threatening code enforcement visits. So we teamed up and started a small business alliance. Nothing fancy, just a few local folks who agreed to look out for each other and not let HOA bullies push us around again. 2 weeks later, I was invited back to another HOA meeting, this time as a guest of honor. Robert handed me a formal document signed by the new board outlining property boundaries, legal responsibilities, and a protocol for resolving disputes the right way. "We hope this marks a better relationship between neighbors," he said. And for the first time, I actually believed it. So yeah, this all started over a parking spot. But it turned into something bigger. Sometimes standing up for yourself isn't just about defending your space. Sometimes it creates a ripple effect, gives other people the courage to speak up too. If you've ever dealt with someone who tried to bully you using power they shouldn't have, whether it's an HOA president, a toxic boss, or just a loud neighbor, remember this: you don't have to roll over and take it. You don't need to be aggressive. You just need to be smart, persistent, and not afraid to say no. Not today. And hey, if you enjoyed this story, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and smash that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. More real stories, more wild drama, and hopefully, a few more satisfying wins. Catch you in the next one.